everyone, and welcome back to the Coach Dave Academy Gran Turismo channel. I'm Martin Grady, otherwise known as Tijani, and once again I'm going to give you some detailed guides on how to actually really progress in this week's Gran Turismo daily races. We're going to go through a detailed guide, slow it down, really break down some of these corners. We'll then go into a fast lap, look at some Delta data and see where we can improve, which should hopefully tell you where you need to improve and hopefully get you up the leaderboards and to win some races, which is what we're there to do. Now, first up, we're going to go to Trial Mountain for Daily Race A, where we're in the Nissan Z Performance, otherwise known as the 400Z. Let's jump into this daily race then, because there's a lot to unravel with this, because it's a tricky car, it's a tricky track. So here we are on the start-finish straight. We're going to head over towards the right-hand side, and already I want you to stay in 5th gear, okay? Instant tip right there. Don't go to 6th gear down the start-finish straight. We get to this point here, okay? On the right side, you've got the Armco, and it goes into the tyre wall. This is your first brake marker. Now, with this car, it's going to want to oversteer very quickly the second you go on the brakes. All the weight goes forward, which leaves the rear all light, and that means it wants to dance around. So what you want to do here is you want to go on the brakes, but try and release the brakes as smooth as possible. If you come off them really quickly, you'll get some oversteer. Now, sometimes the oversteer can be quite helpful, to be honest with you. Other times, you're just going to crash. So you do have to be careful with this. Now, this section is all about the line. You get the first part right, you'll then get the second part right, so on and so forth. Notice there, the instant turn of weight there. We try and balance it then with the throttle. We're going to go towards the right side. I want you to lift as you get to the crest of the hill here. That allows the car to balance itself. We can slow it down here. We're going to lift again as we turn left. That allows the weight to transition through the corner, and then we can continue on out on the exit here, and hopefully we've made it nice and fast. And happy days on this particular lap, we did. So on the right side here, we've got the tyre wall into Armco. Literally the opposite of what we did at turn 1, where it was Armco into tyre wall. Likewise here, so very easy to remember. Now, when you come into the tunnel here, you can do 2 options. You can go down to 3rd gear or remain in 4th gear. Now, I highly recommend you stay in 4th gear here, because the car likes to just transition with the weight so easily. Dropping a gear will just mean the car will just instant rotate, and for me that causes unbalance and also reduces consistency. So stay in 4th gear here. So we're going to brake at this moment in time, and as we go to the tunnel, we'll go hard on the brakes. We'll then start to release the brakes, and all we're trying to do now is slow the car down enough to get on the inside, and that's exactly what we do. As we get close here, we then start to accelerate out the corner in 4th gear. Start to straighten up that wheel very quickly, because if you keep it locked like that, what's going to happen as you get to the crest of the hill, you're just going to have to catch a drift, and then you're going to go very slowly indeed. As we come down here, we stayed in 4th gear to this point. On the left-hand side there, we've got this big bush right above my head, and we've got the rock. Now, you can use the bush here as a brake marker. It's better to brake a little bit earlier in this car than to go last of the late brakers. And the reason for this is due to the extreme weight transfer once again. You don't want to go too late on the brakes, because if you have to do that, the car's going to get slidey, you're going to lose a whole lot of time. So be smooth on the braking. So we're going to use the bush on the left-hand side. We're going to hit the brakes. We're going to drop down to 3rd gear, which is going to cause that rotation I just talked about if you drop to 3rd in the tunnel. There we go. We dropped to 3rd. We're going to release the brakes now. Watch the car rotate. And then we're going to go instantly on power. That's to try and balance the car as we go through the corner. We short shift to 4th gear just to get a bit of balance, to really try and stabilize the car. And then we continue on through. We're going to head over towards the left-hand side now. We follow that curb a little bit. And at the end of the curb, right behind my head here, is literally your brake marker. So you can see here, I'm just braking just before I get to it. I'm going to dab the brakes and I'm going to chuck the car in. It's better to actually turn in a little bit later for this one than to turn in too early. Because what's going to happen, as we've already talked about, the way it's going to transition, you're going to get a bit oversteery. So it's actually better to turn in a bit later to make sure the nose doesn't hit the inside and bounce you off. So that's what we're going to do right here. And you can stay in 4th gear for this one. You can drop to 3rd gear if you just want a little bit of rotation, but 4th gear is what I recommend for most of this lap, to be honest with you. It's just a stable gear. Notice a little bit of oversteer, absolutely fine. We accelerate through the corner. You don't really want to go too far away from this yellow line. If you keep it in the middle of the car, you're going to be absolutely fine. So we've already headed back over to the right-hand side now. We've got the yellow sign to say left-hander coming up. We know it's the left-hander. We've got the electrical box, and then we also have the warning sign of the tunnel. You're braking after these, okay? Not at them, after them. So you're going to be in the tunnel before you hit the brakes. Similar to previous where I said turn in a bit later, exact same situation here. It's very easy to turn in too early for this corner, just due to the way this car is handling itself, and then cause yourself to hit the curb and bounce off and lose all the speed down the straight. So brake late here. Notice the trail braking, not 100% braking at all here. Just trying to keep a nice tight line. When we get to the compression in the corner, we then start to accelerate. Now, when I talk about a compression, think of it as a dip. So if you've got like that, so you've got a downhill and an uphill, sort of all downhill there, but it levels out a little bit. As you get to the bottom bit, that's the compression. That's what I'm talking about there. So do look out for that when you're driving. Very easy to see when you're driving. A little bit harder to show in a video. As you can see here, we are going 100% in terms of video speed, and we're going to get to this point here. So this is before the braking zone, and the reason I've stopped here is because I wanted to show the trees on the right hand side. You can see how close they are to the circuit. The second one, which is closest there, it's just before the curb. That is my brake marker. That's what I'm looking for as I'm driving. So you can see on the right, there's a clear space and it goes into the trees. The second one is what I'm looking for. It's right before the curb. Now this one, you're going to get oversteer on in terms of the braking zone. It's so easy to get oversteer in terms of this corner, so you are going to have to be careful. Again, fourth gear. Don't go to third gear here, just stay in fourth gear. So we're hard on the brakes now, dropping down to fourth gear. All the weight's on the front now. So as we start to release the brakes, the rear's just going to go, oh, there we go. And there you can see it right there. So I just stopped it here because, as I highlight every single time we're at Trial Mountain, the big rock there on the inside here. This, no matter whether you're going forward or reverse, is your accelerating marker. So when that leaves the screen, you're going to hit the accelerator and you should make it around the corner absolutely fine. At least you should. That's what I try to do. And I use it all the time as my accelerator marker, and it works 99% of the time. So I'm in fourth gear. Obviously, I'm not in the power band quite yet, so the car's going to remain stable as I go through the corner. It's only at the very exit of the corner is when I get into the power band, but then I'm straightening up the steering anyway, so it shouldn't be too much of a worry there. A little bit of a wiggle, just catching the weight transition. When we accelerate out, we're going to head over towards the left-hand side, not all the way, and then we're going to head over towards the right. As you turn in right here, your car may suffer some oversteer if you do it quite drastically, so just be careful. That's why I lifted a slight bit there. So we just let the car roll a little bit. Why do I roll before I get to this braking zone? The reason I roll is to stabilize the weight. Imagine the weight transition here. So you accelerate, the weight goes to the rear. So the car's like that. If I then just let off, the weight's going to go back like that. And then we can hit the brakes like that. If you go from here to here, imagine that weight transition. It's crazy. Now we're using the tree on the left-hand side there as our brake marker. So I lifted, then go on the brakes to stabilize it. This is where you can overlay as well. So you can go hard on the brakes and just slightly tap the throttle if you are struggling with a bit of oversteer here with the weight transition. But I'm on the brakes now and I'm in fourth gear. You can drop to third gear for this corner. I recommend staying in fourth, once again, for stability reasons and consistency. If you do fourth every single time, you'll remain consistent. Now, arguably, you might lose half a tenth here or there. But the lap times are so vast here at the moment. The leaderboard is so big in terms of time difference. The half a tenth is worthwhile losing for consistency, stability, and making sure you do get that lap in. On the left-hand side, then we've got two big rocks. The first big rock is your brake marker. Now, you can try and be the last late brakers and go a bit further in and use the second rock. The problem is, as I've talked about, extreme weight transfer. If you go late, you're going to chuck the car in, you're going to get sideways, and you have to be able to catch that and have a smooth exit. Very hard to do. So it's better to brake early here. Keep it nice and smooth. Try and get on the inside curb if you can, and stay in fourth gear, as we always do. Once again, you can do this in third gear if you so wish, but fourth gear for me is a better gear to be in terms of stability. And notice there, we've got a little bit of wiggle. It then settles itself out. We're not in the power band until this moment here. Now we're in the power band. It accelerates out. And it remains stable. And that's what we're after in this lap. And that's why I'm telling you to stay in fourth gear on all of these corners. Unfortunately, we're heading towards a chicane right now where you can't just do it in fourth gear because it'll be a bit slow, to be honest with you, a bit too slow in that situation. On the right side here, we've got the start of the curb. Really, really, really good brake marker this, okay? So I want you to follow this curb in a straight line. Brake in a straight line. You're going to drop down to third gear. The later you change down, the better in terms of third gear. Fifth to fourth, absolutely fine. You're in a straight line. Fourth to third, better to do it later. I actually do it quite early here and I have to use the steering a little bit to chuck the car in, but if you drop to third gear a bit later on as you turn in, the car will transition a little bit better. So that's what we're going to do now. Hard on the brakes. We're going to drop down to third gear. Well, not yet, but you should do it even later than I do here. Now drop to third gear would be better. The car will then turn in. What we want to do then is get as far left as possible. We accelerate a little bit here. We're not even in the power band in third gear. Now we are. We're going to go towards the right. We're going to lift off, go up to fourth gear, stability reasons, as I keep talking about. And then on the exit, because we're more stable in fourth gear, we shouldn't hit the barrier. We got very close there with that little wiggle. Now, the shortest distance to the line is staying left, so you can do that. Otherwise, just head over towards the right-hand side and start another lap. And you do have time to actually venture over there anyway. That's 204.993. Let's go into a quick lap then here at Trail Mountain. So, arm codes, tyres, we hit the brakes, 5th gear. We release the brakes, we turn in, just be careful that oversteer. Accelerate a little bit, lift off as we go towards this right-hander, over the crest. Continue on, lift off as we go towards the left, and then continue on through. So, tyre wall to arm cut on the right side is our brake marker. Going to drop down to 4th gear. As we release the brakes, the car wants to rotate. Just try and keep it nice and stable. Once you get to the inside, accelerate through in 4th gear. Straighten up the steering, head over towards the left-hand side. Look for the big bush before the rock. There it is. Hit the brakes, drop down to 3rd gear. Turn in, release the brakes, then accelerate, short shift to 4th gear. Continue on through. We're going to head over towards the left-hand side. Remember, just before the end of the curb on the left, we hit the brakes, turn in, get a bit of oversteer potentially here. There it is. We start to accelerate over towards the right-hand side. After the warning sign on the right, we're going to hit the brakes, turn in late for this corner, keep it nice and stable. On the compression, start to accelerate through, and then just make sure you don't hit the wall on the exit, because you don't want to ruin a lap at that point. You've done the hardest bit now. We're going to head up here then towards the banked corner, looking for the tree. There it is. We're going to hit the brakes there just before the start of the curb, and we're in 4th gear. Release the brakes, the car wants to oversteer, big rock there. It's our accelerating marker. Continue on through, head over towards the left-hand side a little bit, mainly in the middle of the road. Turn towards the right, just be careful of oversteer. Lift off, let the car roll, then hit the brakes. Allows stabilization in the car. Release the brakes, turn in 4th gear, accelerate out the corner. The car should remain stable. Head over towards the right hand side, looking for the 2 big rocks on the left. We're going to hit the brakes once again, very early for this one. Turn in. If you clip the curb, you can start to accelerate. There it is. Continue on through. Slight lift there is actually beneficial to stop some of that oversteer. Continue on down here. Remember, start of the curb on the right is our brake marker. We're going to drop down to 3rd gear here, so hard on the brakes right now. Just downshift a bit later than I do there. Turn in, over towards the left-hand side. We accelerate. We're going to lift off, turn in, go up to 4th gear, clip the inside, continue on through, stay to the left-hand side there, head towards the line, and once again, that is a 204.9. Now, there was a much better lap on the leaderboard, and we're going to compare against that lap now, as we're going to jump to some Delta data and see where I can improve. So I have loaded the fastest lap in the world right now. It's a 2 minutes 4.2 into Delta, and we're going to compare that versus my 204.9, so 7/10 of a second. A lot of time. Struggling to understand exactly where that time is, but let's jump straight into Delta then, and let's have a look exactly where that is then. So we're going to head towards turn number 1 here, and you can see we're identical as we go into turn 1. Straight away, I'm on the brakes a little bit early compared to Dan. As we go through here, you just see the yellow dotted line more towards the inside here. So Danny's obviously taking a slightly better line. So as we go through here, we'll just get to the end of this one then. And you can see there, we're 800ths down. That's all to do the line. Now, I wouldn't focus there specifically unless you're really all over the place in terms of the racing line, because a little bit of that is luck and aggression in terms of getting the throttle exactly right. But even so, you can still see that I can improve that by 1/10 of a second essentially, just by getting the line a little bit right. You can see even just on this bit here, starts a bit further to the right, comes across, and is managing to carry more speed through there, 2 miles an hour more, and that is significant in the grand scheme of speed. Right, we're going to head towards the tunnel now, so I'm going to hit the brakes first. I'm definitely on the brakes first there. As we're going to hit, Dan's taking a slightly wider line versus my tighter line. So as we get to the middle of the corner here, in terms of speed, Dan is 2 miles an hour ahead again. Once again, that slightly wider line in, racing line, helping out massively here. Now, we were 800ths down, and by the exit, we're 2300ths down there by that point. So we're 1/10.5 down in that situation. So we really do need to improve on the tunnel, and I highly recommend you do that as well. I remember doing the lap this morning, and the tunnel was one of my key focus areas, because it is a place where you can improve a lot, and we can see that right here. Right, so we're going to head down towards this right-hander. Who's on the brakes first? It's me again, so Danny's braking that a little bit later. We go into the corner, and as we go through this corner, Dan has, oh, look at the exit speed, a massive difference there, and that's a 3rd, 4th gear difference there down at the bottom. So I did say 3rd gear can be slightly quicker in terms of exits. You will lose a little bit of time, but 4th gear is more stable, and that we're seeing that right there. So that one, I wouldn't focus that one myself personally, just because that is more a gear choice selection, which I want to do in order to keep consistency. So into the right we go then. We go through there. We actually lose quite a bit of time there. So what's happening in the middle of this corner? Again, it's just carrying speed. It's just carrying a little bit more speed. We're going to go to this left-hander. I go for a slightly tighter line as we go through here. We don't really lose that much time there, which is fair enough. But let's head down towards the good old left-hander here. So we're on the brakes first here. I mean, look at this. We're on the brakes, and Danny's still going here. Wow. The difference here is insane, because we're on the brakes so much like earlier. And as we go through there, we lose 1/10 of a second just there alone. So we really do need to improve on that corner. That's a significant corner to focus on there. So I definitely do need to look at that one, and I highly recommend you look at that one as well. We're going to go into the right, left as we go over the hill. Does down lift here? Do you remember when I said about lifting? Yes, look, there's a brief lift, and then it's brakes and accelerator. That's overlaying. So Dan's just making sure the car understeers rather than oversteers. And that is a technique I did talk about in the guide there. So we do lose a lot of time into that corner, though. So that is significant. Another 10th of a second in that corner. We're going to get to the left-hander here. We go through that. We don't really lose much time there, so I'm quite happy with that one. We get towards the chicane now. Who's on the brakes first? It's myself again. We hit the brakes, and notice how tight Dan takes that first part of the chicane. Really cuts the inside, gives him a really good line for the second part. So what we're here? 58 hundredths, and then by the end of it, we basically lose a 10th here. Where do we lose it in the first part or the second part? The first part. So Dan just gets a better line in, just gets the rotation in. And what gear is Dan in there? Oh, he's down to second gear, so it gets a bit more rotation. Similar to what we've been doing fourth and third throughout the lap. And that allows Dan to get a better exit then. And we can head towards the line. Dan's just carrying that bit more speed, so continues to just increase that gap by a little bit. And that's where 7/10 of a second are. So really interesting in Delta once again. You saw how I've just been reading the Delta data. 2 corners I would focus on here in terms of improving my lap time. That's going into the tunnel in sector 1 in terms of the left-hander. Definitely a significant amount of time there. And I'd also focus on the banked corner at the end of the straight as well. That's another place where I could focus on my time. You saw how oversteery I got there. So if I perhaps just smooth that out a little bit, that's where a 10th is straight away. That's going to be it for Daily Race A, though. A very hard race. Definitely some key areas to focus on, and the gaps are still massive on that leaderboard. So we're going to jump to Daily Race B now. And for Daily Race B, we're going to head to Fuji, and we're in Group 4 machinery. Here we are on the start-finish straight here at Fuji. I'm in the GT by Citroen Group 4 race car there. +5 brake balance. You can see that in the top right-hand side. Sorry, bottom right, but top right of the graphic. We're going to head towards turn 1, and straight away on the left-hand side, we have this dark grey into light grey on the grandstand. These like panels, those rectangle panels, you can see them going all the way across. Now, I use this first transition here on the left-hand side as my brake marker. So when that hits the edge of my screen, I'm going to hit the brake. Now, for this corner, you can do it in second gear or first gear. First gear will give you a bit more rotation. So potentially, I would say that's probably the better gear to be in. But if you suffer too much oversteer on the exit, just do it in second. It's very stable on the exit. So we're going to go hard on the brakes right now, braking in a straight line. As we get towards the end of the braking phase, notice that I'm trying to turn, the car won't turn. I get to first gear, I release the brakes, the car turns. I short shift to second gear on the exit. This is to give myself some stability. Just make sure you don't go on the dark green stuff on that left hand side. It's a tad slippy, to be honest with you. We're going to continue now towards the next corner. Now, for this one, it's a really fast left-hander. And on the left-hand side, we've got, once again, colour changes. Notice these barrier changes, light grey, now dark grey, then white, then light grey, then dark grey. And then when we get to that dark grey to white transition, that's when we're going to hit the brakes. Now, when I was editing this, I saw that you could also use the billboard. The billboard is also a very good brake marker. But I was using the barrier colour change. It was more obvious to me, and that's what I was using. So when you get to this point here, it's going to hit the edge of your screen. You're going to hit the brakes. You're going to drop to fourth gear, and you're going to chuck the car in, okay? Absolutely chuck it in. Now, when you chuck it in, you need to make sure you don't hit the bollard on the inside, but sort of half aim for it and hope you get a bit of understeer. You do want to cut a lot of the inside curb because it will just rotate you as well in a little bit. And then on the exit, you can use a lot of the curb as long as you stay on the red and white stuff. So as we continue on through there, I noticed I clipped it. That cost me a little bit of time. And notice how I go out wide here, but I come back on just before the end of the curb, and I'm absolutely fine. So we're going to go into the long right-hander now. And what you're going to see here is I lift off and drop a gear. And you're going to just adjust the throttle here. That's to try and carry some speed. If you are struggling with some understeer here, just lift off and let it roll. Critically, that escape road right there, you need to be fully accelerating when you get to that point, and then you've nailed that corner absolutely fine. So we head over towards the right hand side now, and on the left hand side there, the end of the curb is your brake marker for this left hander. Now, in Group 4 cars, I always struggle with this, so it's something that I highly recommend you do as well. You get aggressive on the throttle. So, you're going to hit the brakes, you'll then release the brakes, trail brake, and we're going to be in second gear as we go in. When you clip the curb on the inside, just put your foot to the floor and accelerate out the corner. Quite often, and I did this as well doing this lap, is I was just gently applying the throttle, but Group 4 hardly has any power. So literally, just plant your foot. So here we go then. Second gear, release the brakes, we're going to turn in. We're aiming to hit the curb. Once we hit the curb, foot to the floor. Notice that I'm still not aggressive enough. I just need to put my foot down and off I go. Just be careful about running too wide very quickly here. As long as you stay on the red and white curb in, you should be absolutely fine here, as we're now going to head down towards the chicane. Now this chicane, because you don't have a lot of power, you can actually brake really, really, really late. Like super late. I was even surprised at how late I could actually brake for this chicane. But as we come down here, what you're going to notice very quickly, on the right side there, we've got that Dunlop sign. We're braking after that. We're actually looking for the second Dunlop sign, which now comes into view right here, and we hit the brakes at this moment in time. So what you're going to do, you're going to follow the left-hand red and white curbing all the way down. You're going to drop down to first gear for this one. I did try second gear, but arguably it's much slower because you don't get the rotation you need for the first part of the chicane. So I highly advise you do go to first gear for this particular corner. That's probably the only time I think on this lap I say definitely go to first gear. The rest is choice of gear. So as I say, follow this red and white curbing all the way down. You're going to drop to first gear. You release the brakes, the car should turn in. You want to cut a lot of the inside curb. Now, let's kick off this then. So as we come down here, second gear, first gear, we start to try and turn in, release the brakes. Notice the car is going to turn in now. We want to cut a lot of the inside. We're going to accelerate a little bit, and then we're going to lift off, and we're going to go to second gear. You want to clip the curb on the inside. Once you clip it, then go on throttle, okay? Straighten up that wheel, and you should make it absolutely fine. Head over towards the left-hand side, and instantly we're going to be looking for our next brake marker, which is on the left there. It's that grass going into that dark green stuff on the left-hand side, the slippy stuff, as we like to call it. So as you get to this point here, you're not going to go hard on the brakes, you're going to dab the brakes. Basically, you're trail braking all the way through this corner. Your goal here is to carry as much speed as possible, but also try and get the car rotated in, which is a balancing act with the brake pedal and turning, of course. So that's what I'm going to do here. I'm just going to dab the brakes, slowly get the car turned in here. And once I've got the car on the inside curb, I can start to accelerate. Now, in the GT by Citroen car specifically, the curb can actually cause some oversteer on the exit, okay? So just be careful of that. Notice I let the car roll at this point, I hit the curb, and notice I don't go 100% throttle straight away until I'm off the curb, and that's because of that rotation that can happen due to the little lift on the curb. So we'll continue on through this left-hander. On this left-hand side, the end of the curb, which was behind my head, which has now disappeared, is literally your brake marker. And similar to the last corner, you're going to just trail brake all the way to the outside. When you get to the outside, you're going to release the brakes and let the car just roll through the corner until it stops understeering. Once it stops understeering, you can then start accelerating. And that's the key part to this corner, is to go out wide, try and get the car rotated. Once it's rotated, you can then accelerate and just make it through the corner with a lot of speed. Watch what I do here. So notice that I'm on the brakes, 50%, staying around 50%, down to 25%, let the car roll. Car's now turning in. I know I'm going to hit the curb, so now I can start to accelerate. And all I do is extend the outside a little bit here, make sure I stay on the red and white curbing. I bring it back onto the circuit, and we head towards the final corner. Now, this final corner, okay, the orange painted barrier on the right side is your brake marker. But how you choose to race this last corner is entirely your choice. Now, for me, the GT by Citroen race car and middle of the line approach is the best car. In your preferred Group 4 car, it may be slightly different. So what you can do is go for a nice tight line. So just really get it nice and tight, get it onto start, finish straight. If it's a fast accelerating car, that's probably a better way to do it. Other cars will want a wide line in, just to get around the corner and then just really bolt out the corner, taking a wider lines. But I'm going for a middle of the approach here. Notice that I'm in the middle of the track. I'm braking. I'm going to release the brakes down. The car then rotates. I'm in second gear. I'm just careful about that curb. Once again, bouncing me around. Notice that I get a little bit of oversteer. I catch it. I go to third gear. I use the red and white curbing. As long as I'm on that, I'm absolutely fine here at Fuji. And now we can head towards the line. So this lap at the time was the world record. Happy days indeed. I believe it has been beaten now, which you expect as we go throughout the day on the first day. And this was the 147.200. Like bang on the money there. Look at that. Happy days indeed. Let's go to a fast lap then. So what we're going to do, we're going to head towards turn number 1. Okay, plus 5 brake balance again. On the left-hand side, we're looking for the dark grey to light grey on the grandstand. There it is. We're going to hit the brakes. Drop down to first gear if you want to, or stay in second. We clip the curb on the inside, up to second gear on the exit to make sure the car stays balanced. Head over towards the right-hand side now. Remember, we're looking for the paint or the colour transition on the left-hand side. So, we're looking for the dark grey to white. There it is. We're going to hit the brakes, 4th gear, chuck it in. Make sure you avoid the bollard if you can. Accelerate through the corner. Get back on the circuit very quickly. Go through the right, lift off, drop down to 4th gear, and then just control the car speed through here. Make sure you start accelerating before that escape road right there. Head over towards the right side. The end of the curb on the left is our brake marker. Down to second gear, release the brakes, turn in, clip the curb, full throttle out of here. It opens up as well. You can actually go a bit wider than that if you so choose. Just make sure you stay on the red and white curbing. We're going to head down towards the chicane. Remember, we're using the second second Dunlop sign on the right. So not the billboard at the top, the billboard on the right. Literally, we're going to hit the brakes, drop down to first gear, and make sure you release the brakes, turn in, use all the curb on the inside, accelerate a little bit. We're going to lift off, go up to second gear, clip the curb, and then straighten up the car over towards the left-hand side. Grass to dark green on the left. We're going to hit the brake. Trail brake now. Trail brake, trail brake. Let the car roll. Start to accelerate. Be careful of the bump. Continue on through. End of the curb on the left is what we're looking for. Once again, trail brake. Just control the braking. Let the car roll a little bit. Let the car turn in. Now we can accelerate through the corner, making sure we maximize the width of the track. Over towards the right we go. Look for the orange painted barrier. We're just trail braking. Get the car rotated. Now we can start accelerating. Just being careful of the oversteer on the exit. We can head towards the line, which once again was a 147.200. Let's jump into some Delta data now then, and let's see where the faster laps are improving versus my world record. So I've loaded another pro here at Coach Dave Academy's lap. That's Manu Rodri's lap, which is 9 thousandths quicker than mine. So really not much in it at all, but we may find some sectors quicker and some sectors slower, which overall will result in a much better lap. So that's what we're going to look for here then, and let's jump straight into this. We head towards turn number 1 here. We're on the brake, so literally we're even. We leave the corner and we're up there. Look, half attempt. So we do turn 1 better. Now, why do we do it better? Let's have a look at this. Look, a slightly tighter line here for Manu Rodri, which obviously is then going to impact the exit here. Instead, they turn in a little bit earlier. And then as we get to the middle of the corner, notice the speed I'm carrying, and that is why I've got a bit extra time there on the exit. Happy days. But because I'm half a tenth up, I must lose some time somewhere else. So we're going to head towards the left-hander now. We go through there. That's exactly the same. Through the long right-hander. We're still the same. Now, does Manu Rodri brake for this one, or does he just... let's go this one. No, just lifts this exact same way I do. We get to the left-hander here. We go through there. So we lose a little bit of time on this one. You see there, Manu Rodri is a bit further to the right and controlling the car a bit more in terms of weight transfer. When we get to the middle of the corner here, carrying a bit more speed. And on the exit there, we are even on speed there. So literally, we lose a little bit on the entrance and on the exit. And that's why we've lost 200ths. Not a lot lost there in the grand scheme of it. So we're going to head towards the chicane now then. So we're 300ths down. We leave there. We're 10th. Oh, my word. We absolutely nail this. Right, what's the difference here? Just so you guys know. So we're on the brake sign tiny bit later. We dropped to first gear. Speed-wise, I just do it a tiny bit better, it looks like. I don't know why that is. I can't actually tell on here at all as we go through here. So is it the first part? No, it's the second part. We just get on throttle a little bit earlier. Yeah, we're just carrying a bit more speed. There we have it then. So literally at this point here, we just carry a bit more speed. That gets us the time. That's really interesting. I do love the way Delta has this laid out at the bottom, by the way, because I can just read this so easily. You can really pick out where we're going now. So we go into this right-hander. We're a 10th down. Oh, we lose a little bit of time on that corner. Now, from memory, on the lap guide, we did lose a little bit of time here because we didn't get the car turned in soon enough. Let's have a look at this in terms of on power. So, yeah, Manu Rodri is just carrying that much more speed. Look at 2 miles an hour. It cost us half a tenth there. We're going to go into the left-hander now. Through there we go. We're gaining a little bit back, actually, from that. And notice that's a wider line from myself, which allows us to accelerate earlier through the corner. And then we carry more speed on the exit. So that's quite clear there. Manu Rodri goes for a very wide line here. Look at this line. Okay, so this is very interesting because I said the middle of the road approach really does work here. But we go through there and Manu Rodri just carries it down the straight there. Really significant. It does show you that, you know, taking different lines on this last corner can have different benefits here. So we go into there. I was carrying more speed initially. And then as we get to this point here, Manu Rodri's not braking as much now. So he was looking at carrying more speed. We get to this point here. It's 1 mile an hour difference. We get to this point here. It's the same. Get to this point here, Manu Rodri's carrying a mile an hour difference again. And that mile an hour then is all the way to the line. So we actually lose. I would say I don't think it's quite a tenth. It's a tenth on Delta and it's 10th on the laps given that we can see right here. But what I would say is that I could have done my line slightly better. So I don't reckon it's a full tenth. It's going to be less than that. But it shows you, try different lines for the last corner. It's very well worthwhile doing. We're seeing that right here because the rest of the lap, arguably I'm better. But Manu Rodri nails that last corner. Very interesting stuff from Delta. Again, we wouldn't know this without looking at Delta, so it's awesome to see. That's going to be it for Daily Race B now. We're going to jump to Daily Race C, where once again we head to the brand new circuit that is in Gran Turismo 7, Yas Marina, and we're in Group 3. Not just a new track though, we're in a new car. The Porsche 911 GT3R here as we start the lap at Yas Marina. We head over towards the right-hand side where we have this orange painted bit on the barrier there. Now, this is your brake marker, or it was my initial brake marker this morning, and you're braking just after that. You can use the grandstands on the left with the balconies as well. As they hit the edge of your screen, you can drop down to second gear. Hopefully you saw the graphic there, plus 3 brake balance for those wondering what brake balance I'm using. But they're my 2 brake markers for this one. So you're going to follow the curb down, drop to second gear. Drop into second gear may cause a little bit of rotation, but you arguably want that as well. Just make sure you avoid the sausage on the inside, okay? So I'm going to hit the brakes now, release the brakes, we turn in, we clip the curb, happy days indeed, and we continue on. Now, track limits. It's the white line. It is not the curb, unlike Fuji, okay? It is the white line, so make sure you stay within these white lines. Speaking of which, segue to the next marker. You can see the white line there. It's shifted slightly here. This is your turn-in marker. So as you pass this, I want you to turn in. I want you to lift off the throttle a little bit. That just allows the car to reduce some understeer a little bit, because you do want to actually use most of the track on the left-hand side, staying within the white lines, because you want to prepare yourself for the right-hander. And that's exactly what I'm going to do right here, okay? So we're accelerating, and what we'll do is we're going to turn in and then lift off a little bit. So we turn in now, lift off, happy days, and then back on throttle and continue on in 3rd gear. Now, because we're in the middle of the circuit now, we can lift off and go to 4th gear. And what we're going to do now is we're going to look for our accelerating marker. This bollard right here. Great accelerating marker, this. So obviously, the closer you get to it, the more likely you are to get around this corner, it fully accelerating. You accelerate earlier and earlier and earlier from it, obviously you're at risk of more understeer. And we all know the exit here, very easy to get a track limit penalty, and you don't really want them on the lap because it invalidates your lap. So, at this point here where I'm at now, pretty much 90% guaranteed to make it. Obviously on this particular lap I do, but that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to push the limits here in terms of speed through this sector 1. As we continue on through then, let's have a look at this. We make it absolutely fine. We can head over towards the right hand side now. We've done sector 1. We can start thinking about sector 2. Now, this Porsche 911 GT3R is fantastic on the brakes, okay? So I'm going to be the last of the late brakers here. I'm braking just before those white lines intersect. So you can see there at the start of the curb, we've got 2 lines going that way. We've got a line coming in towards the curb as well. And we have the strong white line there as well. Where those lines are, that is my brake marker. I'm using that as a brake marker for this hairpin, essentially. Now, because it's a hairpin, a wide line isn't necessarily needed here, in my opinion. What you want to do is point towards the middle of the circuit. Not a tight line, middle of the circuit approach. Because what happens is, when you drop down to 1st gear in this car, it rotates. If it rotates, happy days, winner, winner. And that's what we want to do here. So that's the middle of the circuit. We're going to drop to 1st gear now. Does it rotate? Not quite as much there, but we've still got control of the car. We can start accelerating. There's a bit more rotation. Now, because this car is rear-engined, rear-wheel drive, notice how it went on power, it starts to rotate itself, then it plants. And the reason it does that is because the weight of the engine is over the rear wheels. It squashes the tyres down, gives you more grip. So as you accelerate, it just grips and goes, this car. It's a fantastic car, fantastic beginner car as well here, because you're not suffering with constant power oversteer that you can suffer with in other Group 3 cars. Now, we approach the chicane here on effectively the back straight. We have the 150 board and start the curb on the right hand side. You can use this as a brake marker if you wish. It's just after these, so they will disappear off your screen, then you hit the brakes. I use the green building on the left hand side. I've also highlighted the lamppost in that highlight right there. But the green building is my brake marker. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to follow the curb in a straight line. I'm going to drop down to 1st gear. I'm actually going to go on the curb a little bit to open up this chicane. Now, this chicane is very tricky to get right. Remember about track limits. Don't cut it too much on the inside. Now, the first part has a sausage in, so effectively you want to avoid that completely. And that's what we're trying to do right here. We clip the curb. We're going to start accelerating. We'll then lift off as we go towards the right. And then we're just trying to balance the car with the throttle. So I was down at 25% there. What I want you to think about here on throttle is 0 to 100% on the exit will cause you a bit more oversteer. But 5% throttle to 100, a little bit less oversteer because you've got less distance to go. It's already powering the rear wheels. 50% to 100, even less. So start trying to apply that throttle mid-corner. Obviously, you're lifting off, but not quite as much. Now, we're already at the next markers, so let me explain some of these for you. So we've got the white line here. You're braking just after that, but you want to brake just before the 50 board on that right-hand side. So they're your 2 markers for braking. Now, I've got a 3rd marker, the left middle square there. That is where I want you to point the car towards. This is one of my favorite corners in Gran Turismo 7 right now. Great addition in terms of Yas Marina. Really good corner. So you point to that, and when you get towards it, you're going to release the brakes or start to release the brakes. It's all about letting the car roll and get around the corner. And we have a 2nd marker on this corner. So watch this. Down to 2nd gear, we approach the curb. We start to release it. The car wants to still understeer wide, so we let the car roll. We're going to approach this point right here with this sort of billboard that goes across the circuit. This is your accelerating marker. And you're probably going, Titch, if I accelerate now, I'm going to understeer off. That's the belief you have, but that's not exactly what happens. So when you accelerate in this car, obviously, the rear gets planted. We talked about that just before. Because you're turning, the right rear gets planted. So it turns like that. It jolts round. And guess what? Stops the understeer. So you can then get on the inside of the curb. You can just keep your foot flat to the floor. Go to third gear. That's when it starts to understeer, but then there's some exit curb. Watch this. So we're in second gear right now. We should then go up to third gear. We've been flat so far. Continue to be flat. We make it round fine. And all because of that accelerating marker above us right there. Really does help. We're going to continue through this first kink. We want to head out wide now at this moment in time and then point towards the corner. We actually want to point a bit earlier than we did there. We had to lift there to compromise to get our car turned in. Now we've got the orange painted barrier, and as the curb sort of protrudes into the circuit, this is your next braking marker, and you're going to brake in a straight line. So what I want you to do is I want you to see that curb, I want you to hit it and then continue braking in a straight line towards the outside. Remember, when you're braking, 100% braking efficiency happens in a straight line. If you're turning remotely, you lose that. A wheel can only do 100% of something. If you do 20% turning, you can do 80% braking. Just remember that. I know it's not quite 1-for-1, but that's the idea behind it. So we hit the brakes now. We head towards the outside here. We're going to drop down to first gear. That gets the car rotated and turned in as we clip the curb. We're going to accelerate then and go up to second gear. We want to then mount the curb on the left-hand side. And look at this off-camber corner. It's really clunky and clumsy, but I actually quite like this corner as well. We accelerate a little bit. We're going to lift off, and we want to touch the second curb as well. We do that. We can then start accelerating. And as we accelerate further out wide here, notice how the off-camber reduces. So as long as we keep on accelerating forward, we should be absolutely fine. We're going to head over towards the right-hand side now. And what we're going to do here is we're going to stay in third gear, but just lift a little bit. That means we should reduce any form of understeer there and make sure we don't run wide. It's very easy to run wide there, especially if you're in fourth gear and invalidate this lap as well as your next lap as well. So you've got to be careful of that. Our final brake markers, and we're braking very early for this last corner, are the two orange painted barriers. We've got one on the right and we got one on the left. The one on the right is one I was using initially. I was braking just after that leaves the screen. But I like BS that leaves the screen. The one on the left is hitting the edge of your screen, which is why I've highlighted it right there. For this corner, you want to drop down to second gear and make sure you turn in and make sure you clip that curb on the inside. It is critical you clip that curb on the inside. So we're going to hit the brakes now, drop it down to second gear, we release the brakes, want to get the car turned in. Do we get the car turned in? Yes, we do. We clip the curb and we can accelerate through. Once again, being careful on the exit here. Very easy to invalidate both laps. One lap, I was on an insane lap and I just ran wide there and invalidated both. I was fuming with it. I really was. What we're going to do now is go onto a fast lap here at Yas Marina. Okay, plus 3 brake bounds. Look for the orange painted bit of the barrier there on the right side. We turn in second gear, accelerate out, stay within the white lines. As the white line kinks there, we're going to turn in, lift off a little bit, make sure we get as far left as possible. Lift off, fourth gear, turn in, look for that bollard. There it is. We can start accelerating through the corner, just making sure we don't run too wide there. Head over towards the right hand side. Remember, just before the fifth board is when we're going to brake. We're going to point towards the middle of the circuit here now then, and we're going to drop down to first gear, start to release the brakes, clip the curb on the inside, accelerate out, just foot to the floor, have confidence in the car that it will stick, being rear-engined, rear-wheel drive. Let's head towards the chicane. Remember, using the green building on the left-hand side, that's when I'm going to hit the brakes, drop down to first gear, avoid the sausage on the inside. We're going to accelerate a little bit, then lift off, turn the car in, just balance the throttle a little bit there, up to second gear we go, avoiding the slippy stuff on the left-hand side. We can continue on now, knowing we've done that chicane. I've caused a few invalid laps there at that chicane. So we're going to head over towards the right-hand side now. Remember, we've got the white line, we've got the 50 board, we're going to point towards the curb. Here we go, there's the white line, there's 50 board, hit the brakes, start to release brakes as we get towards the curb, let the car roll a little bit. There's the advertisement, let's go. Continue on through here then, third gear, as we exit there, staying within the white lines, over towards the right-hand side, out wide, turn back in now then, look for the curb, as we hit it, hit the brakes, drop down to first gear, start to release the brakes now, and then we're going to accelerate up to second gear we go. Make sure you mount the curb on the inside. It's going to head out now, reduce the understeer, lift off again to come back in, clip the curb, and then start to accelerate as best as you can, avoiding the wall on the right-hand side. Stay in third gear now, we're going to lift off as we turn in here to reduce any form of understeer. Orange painted barrier is our final 2 brake markers here as we go in. We're going to clip the curb and accelerate out. Once again, that's a 52.7. Well, what we're going to do now is head to Delta and compare our lap versus rank 1 in the world. And that rank 1 in the world is a 151.9 by Damien. What a lap that is, if I do say so myself. Same car as well, so let's find out exactly where we lose all our time. And hopefully it will help you improve your lap times as well. So let's kick off here then. Start the lap, we're going to head towards turn 1. Through there we go. We already lose a 10th in turn 1. That's not a good start, is it? Right, okay, so as we approach here, we're on the brakes a little bit earlier than Damien. As we get to the middle of the corner here, speed-wise, look at the speed difference there. But on the exit, I am carrying a bit more speed. So he goes for a fast in, slow out. I go for a slow in, fast out. And by the end of it, it's a 10th difference. So is it worthwhile doing? Arguably, his was a bit quicker. I reckon a hybrid of those two, it would be better, in my opinion. So we're going to go to the fast left-hander. Do we lose any time here? Oh, we lost a little bit of time there. So what happens there? Oh, Damien goes to 4th gear there. So he's able to carry a bit more speed. Look at the speed difference there. Nearly 6 miles. It is 6 miles an hour difference at that point. That is significant. And that's why that time changes there in terms of the difference. So as we get towards the end of sector 1 then, we're 1.5 tenths down. So there is some improvement there to be made, especially that transition from the left into the right. And I did talk about that. It's a very important one to get right. But Damien does it a little bit better. Goes 4th gear a bit earlier. Maybe something to try out for you folks. Right, let's get towards the hairpin then. So we're 1.5 tenths down. We leave 2.5 tenths down, so we do lose a significant amount of time there. We go on the brakes. Damien's still not on the brakes at that point, so obviously at this point in time, we're losing more speed than Damien. We get towards the middle of the corner and carrying 2 miles an hour more speed. On the exit, it's about even. So yeah, it's just a brake in there. The braking is a bit different on both our cars. I brake a little bit early, and that actually cost me a little bit of time, so that's interesting to know. We're going to head down towards the chicane. And once again, we're on the brakes a bit earlier here. We go through the corner, and we're about even there. I'm not going to worry about that too much. On the exit, arguably, Damien carries a bit more speed. Is that in terms of the speed? Let's have a look. Notice how I talked about 50 versus 25% on mine. Damien does 50%, and that is actually better. And Damien was actually carrying more speed there, and that's actually a little bit more time. We're going to go towards the fast left-hander, one of my favorite corners that I talked about here. We don't lose any time there at all. That's quite often the case, by the way. You don't lose time on some of your favorite corners because you really want to learn them. We see that right there. So we're going to go to here. There's a bit of an issue on recording my lap here. Not sure what happened. A bit of a blip on that recording. Don't worry about it, though. We're going to continue on through here because the time stays about the same. So we do nail that very well indeed. Through the fast right we go. We get towards the end here, and we don't lose that much time at the end there. But critically, though, as we approach this corner here, we do lose some time actually in here. I do apologize for that. So as we approach there, we're 4 attempts down, and we do lose a couple of attempts there. So that's something that we will have to look at some point. But in terms of this lap then, some of my key focuses here, the fast left-right, I do need to improve on that. I lose a tenth per second. And the hairpin, I lose a tenth there as well. 2 corners I really want to focus on. Now the hairpin is the one corner I would advise you to focus on as well. Because remember, you've got that big long straight that happens after that. And that is critical for me. Remember, sharp corners, slow corners into fast straights are the biggest priority on your lap. So focus there first, in my opinion, and that's what I would suggest. That's going to be it for this week's weekly guides, folks. I do hope you have enjoyed them. Hopefully they are of help to you. And once again, I've been Martin Grady, otherwise known as Tishney, here on the Coach Dave Academy Gran Turismo channel, bringing you detailed lap guides, which hopefully will help you. If you do have any comments, questions, do let us know down below. Subscribe to the channel and give this video a like as well, of course. It will help others find this, and hopefully everyone can improve together and the racing will improve. Once again, a big thank you for watching as always, and I look forward to seeing you in some more lap guides next week here on the Coach Dave channel.